Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a colleague, who also tells me that this one is part of the True Stories collection. Amy exiles a grizzly bears with an Assimilation Aegis. Then, Amy crews a Sky Skiff and attaches Assimilation Aegis to it. What are her vehicle's characteristics? What will happen at the end of the turn when the crew ability expires? After the triggered ability from Assimilation Aegis becoming attached to Sky Skiff resolves, there will be two continuous effects that want to apply to that permanent. One from crew, and one from the copy effect set up by that triggered ability. Because of how layers work, the copy effect will apply first, modifying the Sky Skiff's power and toughness to 2/2, its color to green, its type line to be creature bear, and so on. Then, in layer 4, the type changing effect from crew will make this permanent an artifact creature. For reasons that I've already explained in more detail in other videos, including the one on Dryad Arbor and Relic's Roar, the result of this effect will be that the Sky Skiff will become an artifact creature -bear. Therefore, the final characteristics will look something like this. Let's note that even though the crew ability is still acting on this permanent, it is not a vehicle anymore, which is kind of strange. Also, it does not have flying. The crew ability doesn't give flying to the Sky Skiff. It has this ability all the time. It just doesn't do anything during the time when it's not a creature. I talked about that in my video on casting Smuggler's Copter with Aaron and Giada. You want to know something else kind of strange? Let's consider what might happen if we animated a spawning pool and attached the Assimilation Aegis to that. There will still be two continuous effects acting on the manland, and the copy effect from Assimilation Aegis will again apply first. Unlike the previous example, the effect from Spawning Pool sets not just its card types, but also its power toughness, and it gives it an ability too. Therefore, in contrast to the previous example, the Spawning Pool would end up as a 1/1 with the ability to regenerate, because those are not part of the card's printed characteristics. They're granted by the continuous effect that animates it. So these are added on top of the characteristics set by the Assimilation Aegis copy effect. Although wholly disconnected from the normal English meaning of these words, the phrase "it's still a land" on Spawning Pool allows it to keep all of its previous card types and subtypes when that type changing effect is applied, meaning that the final type line of the Spawning Pool will be creature land -skeleton bear. Now, there's one last loose end from the original problem statement. What happens after the crew effect wears off? Well, if you've played with vehicles and equipment, you probably already know what happens when the crew ability wears off and the vehicle goes back to being just an artifact. Any equipment on that vehicle would fall off because you cannot have an equipment attached to something that is not a creature. But Assimilation Aegis' ability applies as long as it stays equipped, and even after the crew effect wears off, that copy effect will still be making Amy's vehicle into a copy of grizzly bears. Assimilation Aegis won't fall off until the Sky Skiff stops being a creature, but Sky Skiff will continue to be a creature as long as the Assimilation Aegis remains attached. Therefore, the Assimilation Aegis will stay attached to the Sky Skiff indefinitely. The Spawning Pool example would have exactly the same result. Because the attached permanent becomes a copy of grizzly bears, it would not be possible to animate the vehicle or the manland in the normal way as long as the Assimilation Aegis stays attached to it, because grizzly bears doesn't have those abilities. You can see a version of this idea in reverse if you would exile something like this Goblin Brawler with Assimilation Aegis. Because Goblin Brawler can't be equipped, as soon as whatever creature Assimilation Aegis is attached to becomes a copy of Goblin Brawler, there will be a state-based action that will make the Assimilation Aegis fall off. Pretty cool, right? And that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.